Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on Long Bright River by Liz Moore. This is one of my most anticipated books of the year. I read The Unseen World by Liz Moore in 2016, I want to say, and I adore that book so much, and I was so excited when I found out that Liz Moore was coming out with another book, and Riverhead very kindly reached out to me and offered to send me a copy of the book because I had raved so much about how much I loved The Unseen World. So yes, very excited for this book, but like I am with every novel that comes out from an author I'm also that I love, I'm also like kind of hesitant about it because, I love The Unseen World so much, and what if this one doesn't live up to the hype? For me, it lived up to the hype. So this is mostly like a contemporary fiction, literary fiction book, but it has a mystery element to it as well. You are following the story of these two sisters, Mickey and Casey, but the entire book is told from the point of view of Mickey. Growing up, their mother died of a drug overdose and their father left them, and they were raised by their grandmother, their mother's mom. And then Casey ends up getting addicted to drugs as well, but Mickey kind of takes another path and ends up becoming a police officer. And so Mickey actually is like a beat cop walking the streets of the neighborhood where Casey lives. But the two of them have a strained relationship and like barely even talk to each other anymore. So Mickey is working this neighborhood that is filled with people who are suffering from drug abuse. So a lot of them are in like the midst of like opioid addictions and things like that. And so she's used to seeing like people overdosing and people, dying on her beat and things like that. So one day she's walking the streets and she comes up and she gets a report for there's a body found, and assuming that it's going to be someone who has overdosed. But when they get to the body, she realizes that it's actually someone who looks like they've been strangled. And after a while, it looks like there are multiple women who are being found who have died. And around the same time that this starts happening, Casey actually goes missing. And so now Mickey is really worried about her sister and worried that her sister could be a victim of this person who is killing all of these women in this neighborhood, especially women who are extremely vulnerable and addicted to drugs and willing to do a lot of things that other people wouldn't. And so the story is told in kind of two timelines. It's marked as like now and then. And so you get to see what it was like for Casey and Mickey growing up and things that they've been through, as well as what is happening currently with this serial killer type of situation, as well as Mickey like looking for her sister and stuff like that. So like I said at the top of the video, I really loved this book a whole lot. This is a slightly thicker book. It's over 400 pages, so not like super long, but on the longer end for like contemporary fiction. And I flew through this as much as you can fly through a 400-ish page book. I think I read it over the course of 3 days, and it only took me that long, mostly because I didn't have time to read it more often than I wanted to. As soon as I started reading this book, I was immediately pulled into this world and this story and these characters. Towards the last stretch of me reading this book, I like sat in place for like 2.5 hours, and I was so still that my Fitbit thought I fell asleep. So I think that's a pretty good testament to how much I was engaged with this book. There's something about the way that Liz Moore writes that just like really works for my brain. Like I immediately fall in love with her stories and fall into her stories and immediately like connect with her characters. This is a book that is filled with morally gray characters and characters who make a lot of really poor choices and things like that, but it's also full of so much heart, and it's a story exploring complicated families and complicated family relationships. The story is set in Philadelphia in an actual neighborhood that is dealing with like the opioid crisis and things like that. And so Liz Moore has done her research into the things that are going on right now in these neighborhoods and stuff like that, and incorporated that into the story so seamlessly, and also like done research on the opioid crisis right now in the United States and like incorporated that into the story in a really beautiful way. I think that this is like a perfect book for people who enjoy novels by Tana French or Jane Harper, these mystery books that have more of a character center to them. This is not a fast-paced book by any means, but it is extremely engaging in my opinion. This book is very different from The Unseen World, so if you are someone who read The Unseen World, it's not quite like that. It's significantly darker. It feels more real, maybe because it's set in modern day and dealing with things like the opioid crisis, whereas The Unseen World feels kind of more timeless, but they also have some similarities in that they are dealing with complicated families or complicated family relationships and secrets and things like that. But this one definitely leans more on the mystery side of things than on the contemporary fiction side of things, I would say. So yeah, if you're someone who read The Unseen World and really enjoyed it, I definitely would recommend picking up Long Bright River as well. Or if you've never read anything by Liz Moore, this is a great place to start with her, and then you can go ahead and enjoy the other books in her back catalog. I rated this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and it wasn't quite a perfect book to me. There was part of me that did debate about giving it 5 stars, but in the end I couldn't really do it because there are certain character choices that are made in this book that, while I understand why they were made, just didn't feel very realistic. To me, Mickey as a character is very naive, and it's very possible for someone to be that naive. I recognize that, but she's a police officer who's probably in her like late 20s, early 30s, I would guess. And there's a lot of things that like get revealed over the course of this story that I was just like, yeah, I kind of assumed that from the beginning. But apparently they were supposed to be kind of like big reveals, and they didn't really feel like big reveals to me because to me they felt obvious, but apparently to Mickey they weren't. And she also talks about that a little bit in the story, which I guess kind of helps make it more realistic. Mickey herself talks about how naive she is in certain situations and with certain people, that she doesn't always realize what's actually going on, or she's like really trusting of other people's opinions when she really shouldn't be, and she should be more skeptical. But it's kind of just like minor nitpicks that I had with this book. Overall, I just loved it so much. There's also another character in here who is like Mickey's landlord, I suppose you could say, who I adored. I would read an entire book from her perspective. So Liz Moore, if you're watching this, if you write that book, I'll read it. But yeah, this was a great read and a great start to my 2020 reading. Although technically it's the second book I finished in 2020. It's the first one that I started and also finished in 2020. And so hopefully that will set the tone for the rest of my reading. Because every book I read this year, I love even like a fraction of how much I love this book, it will be a good reading year. So that is everything I have for you guys this week. Let me know down in the comments below whether or not you've read Long Bright River or any other Liz Moore books and what your thoughts were on them. Or if you have any questions about the book, feel free to leave that down in the comment section as well. Or if you read this book in the future, definitely feel free to come back and talk to me about it, because I love getting those comments later on once you guys have read the book. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.